was on August 31st, which also ended up being a fatality. The victim was a 61-year-old female riding as a passenger on a motorcycle. Just to kind of sum it up a little bit, they were going through a roundabout. The driver of the motorcycle was not familiar with the roundabout or the area. The two vehicles actually struck. Wasn't actually an angle accident. It ended up that she was ejected from the motorcycle. She struck her head not wearing a helmet. And she also died about 5 days after the fact. Same reasons as the first one. It was really a traffic fatality because the cause of death was believed to be from the crash. There are also two of them in the fourth quarter. The first one was a recon that ended up not being a fatality. I happened to be working as one of the shift supervisors, and I was actually on the road when this call came in. One of our newer officers actually heard the crash at Main and Webster. A vehicle was traveling at a high rate of speed going west on Main Street, violated the red traffic control, and was struck by a vehicle northbound on North Webster Avenue. This is the one where the vehicle ended up inside the Plank People building. I don't know if you recall that from this last summer. Anyway, the driver of that vehicle was unresponsive, unconscious, and quite frankly didn't look very good when we arrived. It was a pretty high-speed crash, so I ended up calling in Brown County Sheriff's Department recon. We could not raise any of our officers, and we had not trained their new ones at that time. So in any event, both the driver of the car, the 54-year-old male that was unconscious, was arrested for fourth offense OWI. The 15-year-old was arrested for first offense for having some prohibited substances in his system, not necessarily alcohol. The 54-year-old driver, who was more severely injured, did survive the crash. And then our last one was the fatality at I-43 and East Mason. I have on here 11/1 of 17. If I recall right, I think it was 11/11. That might have been a typo on my part. In any event, it was that first icy storm we got where the roads almost immediately turned to glare ice. And we had a number of significant traffic crashes, all kind of at the same time. This particular one, some folks were from out of town in a pickup truck. There was no alcohol involved in it. Just simply lost control. The victim was a backseat passenger and ejected from the vehicle and ended up actually being found several feet away from the vehicle, laying on the on-ramp to the highway. He was transported to a hospital, but he was never resuscitated. And that also was reconstructed by the Brown County Sheriff's Office. As of the first quarter of this year, as of today, there haven't been any fatal or reconstructed crashes.
Okay. Any questions by members of the commission?
Is that unusual? 3 fatals in a year?
Not really. You know, it depends upon how many years you go back. This was a kind of unusual to have that 3 fatals in that short amount of time. Although
I think on the year it's down.
none of them had alcohol involved, interestingly enough. Which that is a little bit unique in and of itself, to have 3 fatalities, and then the one where there was alcohol involved ended up not being a fatality. And as of right now, the last fatal crash we had involving alcohol was at Easter of last year, where that individual hit the tree on Main Street.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
Is there a motion to accept the report of the police department?
So move. Second.
Moved in second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We will now move to item number 9. Dave, do you want to go over that? And then I'm sure Alderman DeWing would like to say a few words.
I'm gonna bring up a map showing, okay, I can zoom out, just in general, just show you all the request items that we'll be addressing tonight. So where you see the push pins, the locations that that have items related to them, so we really only have, well, that's just starting, okay, pretty much everything's east side. So let's just start with this item. Now this has some history. This has been brought forward to Traffic Commission over the years. And I guess really I'm just gonna update based off of, just based off time here. So in essence what you have is a T intersection, Alpine and Deckner. Alpine tees into Deckner, But the traffic volumes significantly are less on the east leg, so this area here that I'm noting. So the movement is predominantly along both of these collector routes. So you have that northbound to westbound movement, and then of course the reverse would be eastbound to southbound. So this right turn, no stop condition, that is on the eastbound to southbound movement. I can show you a picture of what we have. There we go. So this is looking eastbound, so you have a stop condition and then the supplemental right turn, no stop underneath it. So as I had mentioned about the traffic volumes, the predominant movements are what they are, and that's why the right turn, no stop is there, because there's really little to no conflicts most of the day coming from the other leg. There is one other option. I know the request itself is to study an alternate sign, so I investigated a little bit and found that the MUTCD has this sign, which in essence really kind of says the same thing. It's just phrased a little bit differently. 3 words rather than 4, so something like this would just literally just swap out the other one with this message. They effectively mean the same thing. So one of the things that I look at is crash history, determine if we have any sort of issues that would want us to recommend any sort of changes at this point in time. Within the last 5 years, one non-reportable crash took place. It was an unsafe backing of a vehicle. No address was given. So it had nothing to do with the actual operations of the intersection itself, but it was someone backing out of a driveway, say like into a parked car or something like that. So the only reason it showed up is proximity to the intersection. I mentioned that both roads are collector streets, so the intention is sort of a balance to carry traffic regionally, but at the same time provide local access. So this isn't necessarily residential in nature. I mean, there may be residences along the corridors, but the intention of the roadway is to also carry larger amounts of traffic. Introducing a stop condition, if that indeed would be something that is under consideration tonight for the eastbound right turns, would create a eastbound rear end crash issue, in my opinion. For number one, you're just adding a stop condition. Anytime you add stop conditions, you're always going to increase the probability of crashes to occur, mainly the rear end type crashes. And this condition's been in place for many, many years. And training new motorists is always takes it's a learning curve. So with that, that's all I really have at this point in time. At this point in time, I don't really see the need to change anything. I mean, if a simple swap out for the other sign that I had displayed, I mean, I really have no issue with that. They really mean the same thing. So it'd really be no change other than a slight change in the message, which effectively has the same regulatory conditions backing it.
Alderman DeWitt?
Yeah, thank you, guys. This has been going on for 12 years, and the biggest problem in my entire area, this goes back, Captain Galvin, you've been with me for a long time, and this is one of my problem areas. Preble High School is up the block. This is a speedway, Degner Avenue, Alpine. Nobody stops. There's more kids on that corner now. There's two. One is my grandson, and my granddaughter lives right on that corner, and he almost got nailed. And not only him, but other people. There's been a lot more accidents that haven't been reported because they have been kids from schools. They call each other up and stuff like that. But I don't believe if we put a stop sign there, it's going to be more subject to a back end any more than any other stop sign. But these parents have been on me for 12 years, and they're just finally fed up with it. I asked them to come here tonight, and they used to come in the past, and they just said they're fed up with the city because nobody listens to them. So I said, unless you come, you need to be heard. And Dave's right. It's been 12 years, and it's never stopped yet. I get all these complaints on a regular basis. They fly around that corner, they don't care, it says yield, they don't yield, they never yield, they just whip around that corner. People are coming out of those driveways, there's only 10 feet from you turn the corner, from both the east and west side driveways, when you turn. And it's all residential, and they're every 10 feet, there's a lot of them, but when the kids come and racing this way and that way, they don't stop. They used to want to put two-way stops on both east and west because the kids trying to cross to go to Edison from coming east to get on Alpine to Edison. So all I'm asking is to finally try something else. I mean, they're up in arms, and if we could put a stop sign there, try it for 90 days, try it for 180 days, do something. And if it turns out to be a bad idea, change it back. But right now, it's not working. I could sit there, and I've sat there with officers, and we used to write up tickets all the time. It's unbelievable.
Comments or concerns, questions from members of the commission?
You're just trying to get them to stop. Any eastbound vehicle would have to stop.
Right, give them time, make them stop, so they have to look, see what's coming in or out, gives them that opportunity to say, listen, even if they, they're not stopping at all, Captain. They're just turning that corner, and it's early morning, afternoon, even during lunch. People are coming and going. It's havoc every single day.
Okay.
It's never a dull moment there. Never.
Right. And even if you got one group trained in 4 years, they're out of school and it's a whole new crew coming.
It's a whole new crew.
Yeah.
I do this every year. I got a new problem. It's something else every time.
Okay.
Want to do a trial period?
Sure. I'd make a motion that we install a stop sign there for 180 days.
Perfect.
Well, if
90
you go
days.
90
Well,
days,
90
Yeah, it's a
that'll be at the end of
90-day
the
thing,
school
that's
year.
what we want.
Yeah. Yeah, try it out for 90 days, you get
Yes,
to the end of the school year.
I agree. And
Isn't that
if it
usually
doesn't work,
works?
if there's problems, then I'm all for it.
Is there a second? Second? Any further comments?
I didn't second.
No, you did.
Oh, okay.
Any further comments or questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Chair would note one nay. Ray? Okay, thank you. Item number 10.
Greenbrier and Alpine. All right, let me bring this up on the map here quickly. So the other end of Alpine now, Alpine actually, there is a gap on the south end. So Alpine, as you saw right here, basically ends in a dead end, and there's a conservancy, and then there's another segment of Alpine.
That's
to the
all
south.
Alpine?
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize it, but there's that little segment of Alpine down. So it actually tees into Greenbrier now. As you can see here, this is Interstate 43 that runs underneath Greenbrier. And so I can show you some photos of the area, just so you know, it's got a slight crest on it. So as motorists are traveling in the westbound direction, it's somewhat, I guess, what we call a hidden intersection or blind intersection. It's not apparent until you at least crest that bridge. But let me go ahead and display some photographs at 4. All right, this is actually some video. 2 videos, 2. So this is going over westbound over the I-43 overpass, and then there's the intersection right to the right.
Okay.
And then this would just be going the other way. So the intersection's on the left over here.
Okay.
And here is if you're you're on Alpine looking to the right or looking west, this is what it looks like, so you have very clear sight lines. And then looking towards I-43, you can see there's a vehicle that crested over there. Although the.
Is this your vehicle, Dave?
This is in my vehicle.
Are you stopped in front of the stop sign, or
This is about a natural spot where someone would stop.
so in front of the stop sign, before the stop sign?
There's no stop sign yet. There's nothing.
Oh, no, there's a stop sign for southbound movement, there is.
For-
Yeah,
for
no,
southbound
I would
Alpine.
say if there was a
For
painted
Alpine.
stop bar, the front of the vehicle is approximately at the
Okay.
stop line. Yeah, and that would be, roughly about where the stop sign, I mean, but you have to also realize, stop sign location isn't always exactly where you want people to stop. Sometimes we have to put them in areas so that they don't get clipped from vehicles
Right,
turning and
exactly.
things. And state statute says that, that you put them in a place that's reasonable, so you can see them the best. They don't necessarily have to be at the exact stop
Right.
location.
I'm just trying to get an idea,
Yep.
if there's an obstruction or anything else like that.
No, no, the sight lines are clear, in my opinion, for the posted speed. And, so let me just review a few of my other items here. So we have a collector street, that's what Greenbrier is. So again, made to carry more volume of traffic where Alpine Drive is a residential street. One-way stop condition, as I said, that'd be the southbound, or basically, as it tees in, Alpine tees into Greenbrier. There was a resident by the name of Chris Garr, and I believe that you may have spoken with him.
Right,
older,
right.
2691 Greenbrier. So he's the one that is requesting stop signs in Greenbrier in order to control vehicle speeds, was his message. The existing posted speed is 30 miles an hour on Greenbrier. As many of you know, yield stop signs shouldn't be used for speed control per the manual and uniform traffic control devices, a federal highway document that is also adopted by the state and the city. Then TCD also states that yield or stop signs should not be installed on higher volume roadways unless justified by an engineering study. So talked about the crest as you go westbound over 43. And just given my knowledge of the all-way stop warrants, this wouldn't come close to meeting them. So no crashes. Looked at the crash history. We got 0 crash history, so we're not trying to solve anything like that here. So if anything, again, this is just like the last item where, especially if you have a collector road and you start adding, you're stopping thousands of vehicles per day, I can almost guarantee you that there will be crashes. So with that, this is not a receive and place on file recommendation. This is a deny recommendation. I think it would be a bad idea.
What is the difference in volumes?
I don't have actual collected volumes, but that, as I showed you on the map, that really services, probably, 100, 150 homes, but then they also have alternate ways to get out of there. It's probably going to be a lower residential volume street, but Greenbrier is going to be in the thousands.
Alderperson?
Yeah, I went out there and watched this for a long time, and it really caters to the hospital and stuff like that, and the people that live in Bellevue along Diamond Street in the back area. And talking to this guy more and more and more, he says he can't get across to get his mail. And to put a stop sign there, I mean, if you look at it, the stop within the next street is a stop sign on, obviously, Mantua Road and all that stuff. And he wants traffic to stop to get his mail. And so I gotta be up front. I thought there was a real problem, and Dave, I talked to you, I sat out there multiple times, morning, noon, and night, until I finally realized he wanted to get his mail.
Yeah.
And so, he's gonna hate me for it, but, I mean, they travel pretty fast on Greenbrier. There's no doubt about it. We all know that, and we have officers there. Bellevue's got officers there. But when he first told it to me, and I thought it was more than what it was, and then after talking to him more and more, it was this weekend, they told me that he has problems getting his mail, and I'm like, you can sit there a long time without a car coming.
Yeah.
And then there's times where you got 20 cars, so you wait for 20 cars, that's I sat there in the morning when it was heavy traffic. I could easily get across many times back and forth after a string of cars. So
I'm curious why his mailbox is on the opposite side of the street.
that's what the city does. That's
Is it
the
just that
post
some
office.
roads that are?
Post office.
Yeah,
does
they
that.
do that in some areas.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there any further comments? I would move to
Yeah, make a motion.
reject item number 10.
Yeah,
Is there a second?
I'll second
Moved in second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
that. Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Sorry about that, Alder.
Oh, no,
I'm
I
kidding.
wish I'd known
I'm
from the
kidding you.
beginning this one had been on, but
Yeah.
they don't tell you everything. He just
Yeah.
said it was very dangerous, and then after talking to him multiple times and sitting out there multiple times,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not seeing it, but.
You
so
did
I
your
fin-
duty. You did your duty.
Well, finally he told me.
Okay, item number 4.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Thank you, Tom.
Yep.
All right.
This is Alderman Galvin. Who's that?
What the heck?
I'll defer to.
Sure, that's
Tim
fine.
Strobel.
I brought lots of handouts today, so.
Trees dying.
Look at your work here. I don't expect you all to necessarily look through all of this right now, but essentially, it's a short one, really, okay. What we did after the January meeting is, I sat down with my boss, Vanderpool Abel, and I said, here's the concerns, here's what's going on. There's no secret that South Monroe, in front of Olive Old School, is a busy road. And a perfect road, that school probably should have been built there, or that road itself shouldn't have been built there. The two together
Well,
don't,
when you think about when the school was built,
well, right.
it's a different
It
reality
was
now.
probably a gravel road at the time.
Yeah.
But in any event, we were not able to do exactly all of the things that Alderman Galvin suggested or requested. However, that being said, I have done what I believe is everything I can for now, until we discuss this a little bit more, to take some action in that area once again. Now, we had a lot of deployments with a safety grant that we were awarded, but that ended 3 years ago, and that's what produced what was known as the Frogger program, which was kind of a made-up thing from our traffic office back then. What I do have available now, and you met Jerry tonight, is I have 2 traffic officers at my discretion that I'm able to use. I'm also overwhelmed with the amount, and so are they in their office, of requests for different types of traffic enforcement. So, trying to be fair to the entire city, what I did is I set up dates, and I have copies of the email here, where I asked both of them to do both speed and pedestrian safety enforcement on South Monroe. In conjunction with that, I spoke with Captain John Welks, and he's overseeing the CSI program. He put the CSIs out there with a couple radar guns, and they began mailing out, I think one of these, and these we've used in the past. We call them speed launch or speed wave, I guess is the name of it. Letters. What the kids will do is they'll use the radar gun, they'll see a speeding violation, they'll write down the license plate, they don't take any enforcement action. But then they come back in and they complete one of these speed wave citations, and it goes to the registered owner of the vehicle, which essentially says, hey, your vehicle is here, it was speeding, and here's the thing. As of last week, John Lokes told me that they had issued in excess of 50 of these letters, and actually got some positive feedback saying, hey, thanks, I didn't realize it, I didn't realize I was speeding, but now that I know it, I appreciate not getting a couple $100 citation.
So in the month of March, how many times did they go?
I don't know how many times specifically John was sending out his people, but he told me since I made the request, which was after the January meeting, up until about a week and a half ago when I asked him, he said it was in excess of 50 altogether. And as you can see from the sheets, or I can just explain real quickly, we've issued a total of 21 citations between February and March. And when I say we, it's the traffic enforcement officers. I'm not issuing any of the tickets. Majority of the stops have been for speeding violations. There's been both citations and written warnings issued, a total of 17 written warnings and a total of 14 citations. So they're definitely making contacts out there. I will tell you this, I drive that corridor every day, both to and from work, although I come in at 5 in the morning, so that really probably doesn't mean anything. But I do leave about 2 in the afternoon, and it seems to me that the speeding has gotten better. Now, is that because of the increased presence? Potentially, could be word of mouth. I'm not exactly sure what all the causative factors for that are. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask Jerry as well, because he's been one of the 2 guys that have been out there doing this enforcement. I've also utilized 2 deployments of the Click It or Ticket grant through the state. I'm given some liberties where I can put that deployment, I put them in that same area. Now, that doesn't mean that all the citations written during that 4-hour block of grant time is actually right there, because those guys have the discretion. When I say those guys, I mean the officers deployed have the discretion to move around the city. If they're not feeling like their efforts are fruitful for whatever they're being asked to do, they're actually told to try to move and use their time wisely as far as enforcement. But I do believe that we've, demonstrated that we will utilize enforcement. We're trying to utilize education as well for this problem.
I sit there normally in the afternoons when it's school. I try to get there 15 minutes before school gets out, and then I run normally about a half an hour until after school gets out. The volume of traffic there is just horrific. I mean, it's bumper to bumper, cars nonstop both ways. So when we try to enforce it, I mean, it's almost sometimes like if you're on one side of the road, you can only enforce traffic going northbound or southbound, depending on where you are, because you cannot literally get across without causing some type of traffic issue trying to get out to get the car. Foot traffic in that area when the schools get out is very minimal. The times that I've sit there and I've told Brad that if I get 1 to 2 people per day, if that, actually walk across Monroe from the east side to the west side. And if it's with a kid, it's a parent walking a kid. Otherwise, they let the kids out on the back side of the school and nobody really comes this way. So I don't know if this whole issue is with during school time or what it is, but the volume of traffic there is just so much that, I mean, you literally would have to have 4 different squads there to try to get traffic from both ways.
But what you're saying is it's not a pedestrian issue, it's a traffic issue.
It's
Volume is.
it's a pedestrian issue.
Can I ask a question? With the vehicle traffic being so high, does that seem to increase the speeds or decrease the speeds at that time?
You know, it's that point where, because when they're coming in northbound, they come from 35 and it drops down to 25. So they roll a little bit pounder. When they're coming the other way, they're leaving Port-Lier from the intersection, so you get that big swoop of cars coming through because the light turns green, they all come rolling through. And then they start picking up speed as they know you're getting to the end. You see the 35-mile-an-hour signs and everybody starts picking up normally after Emily. But in that distance, it's always big volumes of cars that move together because of the stop and go lights. And I think it's just a real heavy traffic area. There's not that much foot traffic in there. All the kids go up to Port-Lier where there's crossing guards, and that's where 99% of them cross. The only time I've seen kids coming across the street have been with parents. And I've been doing twice a week for the last month at least, and that's what I see.
Tom's seeing the same thing. Tom Herber is doing it in the mornings during that same kind of.
Okay, I was gonna ask if we're getting someone out.
Yeah, I use Tom in the morning because he starts at 6:30. Jerry doesn't start till 10:30 in the morning, so I have him do the afternoons. So I've been changing up the days so that we're not becoming predictable. One day I'll have him go out on the Tuesday and Thursday in the afternoon, or 1 week I should say. The next 2 days on Wednesday or Friday, or Monday and Wednesday I'll have Tom go in the mornings, and then I'll switch it up a little bit. And I'm hearing basically the same thing, that the schools, and I don't know if it was because of all of the activity that we had there from a law enforcement perspective 3+ years ago, actually looked at their engineering, how they let their kids out, keeping them safer.
The school has done this is not just school related, but that's where we got the biggest squeaky wheel.
Sure.
Right, Dave?
Absolutely.
And what happened was you have a school that used to be nothing but bus drop-off back a long time ago, and it became a public school, and it became a big school choice. So you have kids coming from not walking distance, quite a few of them. And so the parents, instead of getting engaged with the school system and hiring a bus and all that, which is pretty expensive, they drop their kids. And they were all have to drop them on Quincy Street. Well, some didn't like the delay and the backups and everything, so they start dropping them west of Monroe Street, and they're telling their kids to cross the street. That's where there were some near misses. All the kids that live west of, their parents have said that if they don't walk them to school, they tell them, you go to Portlier and you cross with the lights, and we haven't had a problem. And it came up again, I met with Trina, the principal, and some other staff, and there were a couple of parents starting that system again. So now one of the school staff goes down to the corner of Eliza Monroe, and if they see a child approaching on Eliza, they tell them, walk down to Portlier. So I think that problem is just parents dropping their kids off trying to save a few minutes. So I don't consider that an issue that we need to be concerned about necessarily during school time. My concern is that it is a high volume. The state would love the speed limit to be, what, 30 miles an hour? If they had their druthers.
That's what it was before.
That's what it was. We insist on going to 25. Yeah, when there's a large volume, you don't see a lot of speeding because it's just too crowded and they don't have time to get, going. You will see them coming into town pretty fast. But the main thing is, I've almost been hit twice, and it wasn't during school hours. It's period, whenever there's traffic, there's trouble in that you got inattentive driving, you got speeding, or a combination thereof. And it's tough for people to cross the street, period, unless they go down the lights. And unfortunately, though, you have two trailheads, one on Eliza and one on Grigno. And so people coming from the east side want to go down, they hit the trailhead there, they don't all want to go down to Portlier and then drive down Portlier Street. So what I was looking for was traffic enforcement, but and I'm not looking for tickets. I'm looking for, let's just make stops. If the officer feels it's a ticket, fine, I've got no issue with that. But this is a citywide problem, and our department has gotten away from traffic enforcement, compared to what it was even 15 years ago.
I agree.
I've
I've asked for more traffic officers.
Well,
They're
it's,
just not
and,
able to
and
do
and this is
it.
part of, you brought up grant money last time. You asked for traffic enforcement officers. I think we need a fundamental change in the way we look at traffic as a department, where everybody starts working traffic again when they have time. And I'm not gonna get into an argument about time because, at one point we were at 85,000 calls a year. Now we're down to what, 50, 55,000, 60,000? So, there's been some changes and stuff, and one day's the hell on earth, and the next day there's nothing happening at all. It's a feast or famine type thing.
You know as well as I
Right.
do. I'm not gonna debate.
So
it.
I'm not gonna, I'm not,
I hear you.
pounding my fist on the desk and saying everyone's gotta get out there, but Green Bay does have a reputation as having very lax traffic enforcement. I've seen the social media messages, things like that, and I think there needs to be a fundamental change. On Monroe Street, though, without getting into a whole dissertation here, I was just trying to give the people that live in that area some sense that the police are out there and they are taking action. That's why I asked that some of the deployments, I only asked for 6 a month, but I asked that 2 just be, CSI is getting out there with a radar gun. I think these letters are great. And I think it's one way of letting people, it's education without enforcement. And it's encouragement to be aware that people are out there watching. The Frogger thing, again, I'm just looking to educate people on what their responsibilities are, including pedestrians. I see many pedestrians that try and cross in the middle of the street, they jaywalk and stuff like that. So, we need to change the whole thought process in Green Bay, I think, to make it a safer community. But this was just a little thing I'm trying to do for the people in that area and for the people at the school, so.
And that's why I started it right
Right.
away. I saw that you had on the agenda.
And I appreciate that.
No, and that's.
Because I didn't think it'd
that's
get
what we're
going till,
No.
March, so.
I'm using the resources that I have at my disposal,
And I
and I'm
know,
asking
yeah.
the district captains to share some
Yep.
of their resources, and I'll keep doing this. You asked for through the end of the year, we will. And maybe Jerry, instead of going out at 3 in the afternoon, if he's saying, these kids aren't crossing, well, maybe we can go out at noon, or maybe things change when the weather changes. Maybe this is the greatest time of year to be doing this.
Exactly. Well, like Sunday. Sunday was very active. I was out campaigning, and I saw so many people out walking, riding bikes, all that kind of stuff. And I'll be honest with you, I was on East Mason Street, and that was the only thing I asked people, you got any complaints? And it was about that crossing at Hartung and Mason. They're very upset about that yet. And There is no real answer. When you put out a crosswalk with a lit system that even police officers don't know what are for, I mean, what do you do? So, and I tried to tell them there are some things, moving along here where we're trying to get some changes, but, yeah, I mean, we are looking, I think, at potentially at some point here, we're gonna have another unfortunate incident between a car and a pedestrian, and a car and a bicyclist. And, the more we can do to try and prevent that on the front end, I think we're better served, so. But yeah, and I know you guys could use some more resources. I know you're shorthanded. You had a ton of retirements. The hiring process is long and slow. And sometimes you have long and slow people.
We are in the process of getting some training, people through training right now. There's going to be some shift moves coming up at the beginning of April. You remember the days when we had 4, 5, 6 traffic cops that
Yeah,
were
oh, yeah.
on each shift? And
Yeah.
I'm hoping that at some point we can get back to that, because that
Exactly.
allows us a
I
lot
mean,
more
yeah,
discussion.
because those guys were making 10 to 15 stops a day. You had 4 on days, so you're looking at 40 to 60 stops a day. I mean, right now the department is averaging not even 200 sometimes stops a week.
Well, when we brought the traffic unit back, it was supposed to, the goal was 2 on days, 2 on middays, 2 on afternoons,
Right.
Sure.
and 2 on power shift for 8 total.
Right.
The last time I asked what we were gonna do if we were gonna get no more people on, I was basically told that
Yeah,
this is what we're gonna get. And
yeah, it's, I mean, if you sat through the last budget thing, they're slow on hiring to save money.
And we're making do, don't get me wrong,
Right.
these guys are busting it, I think, and I forget the exact number, I think Tom wrote over 1,000 tickets himself last year, so they're out there,
Right.
doing what they're being asked to do, and it's just, well,
Right.
how it is. I mean, I just got a request from Alderman Nicholson a couple of days
Oh.
ago for Manitowoc Road again,
And-
it's
And
the
it's,
same places all
right,
over the city.
well, and that's been the thorn in our side for
Absolutely.
20 years.
And Tom went out there and wrote 8 tickets and
Right.
decided with a 3-day period, so we're trying to use our resources as best we
Right,
can.
I guess I'd love to see people looking at Green Bay the way motorists look at Rosendale, okay? And if you go out there, I've never been stopped, and I went there quite a bit when my daughter was going to school in Madison, and she didn't get stopped there though. But, they have that reputation that people slow down whether there's anything going on or not. And I mean, De Pere still has something of a reputation like that, but if you talk to them, they don't do anything extraordinary. It's just, it has to be a sustained effort. It can't be, like what we're doing at Aldo Leopold. It's short term, it's not sustained. We'll get some people's attention, but then it goes away after a few months. And so we need a sustained effort citywide. I even think even countywide would be even better. That, you have to respect the traffic laws. And I think we would see a reduction in traffic crashes and a number of other things to boot, going along with that. Dan will tell you, he's in charge of the neighborhood association. And the number one complaint from every association is traffic,
Yeah,
which is kind of
by
a
far.
cool thing, because you think it's not gangs, it's not drugs, it's not violent crimes or anything like that. Their number one complaint is traffic. That's the number one thing that bothers them. And to me, that's a good thing. But if that's their number one complaint, then that's something we need to focus on and try and make some changes, so.
Just to take off what you're saying, Alder, I'm chairman of the Green Bay Neighborhood Leadership Council, which is the umbrella organization of all 42 neighborhood associations in the city. We just got through doing a survey asking all the presidents, what is your number one complaint in your neighborhood? Half of them ranked traffic speeding as the number one issue.
do we get copies of that? Can we get copies of that?
Of the survey, or?
I just did an informal survey
Oh.
by email, it
It'd
wasn't,
be nice to have that, to be able to bring it
I could try to get
to
some.
where it needs to be brought.
yeah.
Because I exactly said in a meeting that probably 80% of our complaints are traffic, the rest of it is everything else.
Right. And when I was forming neighborhood associations, the number one complaint with every association I was part of forming was traffic.
Yeah.
And some associations came together only because they wanted something done about traffic. And then once they had a perception that it was taken care of, they kind of faded away. But it's going to be ongoing. You're never going to get something
I literally
perfect.
don't think there's another place in the city that's as heavy traffic volume as Monroe in that stretch there. It is just
But
brutal.
you should see
There's
Mason
times I
Street
see you
yesterday.
guys, I get them locked in, I can't get out to even
Right.
go after them. the traffic volume is so heavy.
That's the way it used to be on the Tillman
So,
Bridge,
I don't know if
Mason
there's
Street.
different
I mean,
other
Dave could
things.
tell you.
Dave has an idea on things we could, I mean, you could put like, you know, sparklers out there when people come through and they're still gonna just ignore them. I don't know if there's anything else you can do. You got the nice bright signs, you got all that
Right.
stuff out there, and it just,
Well, they've shown, Peter Fluke, that bicycle guy, ex-cop, he's big on enforcement, but doing it right. Those flashing signs, when you hit a certain speed, they flash your speed limit. Well, if you look at the one on the Claude Alloway Bridge in De Pere, and that one on Webster Street in Alloway, people ignore it after a while, because when it flashes, nothing happens. His suggestion is you install the sign, but the only time it flashes is when there's a cop around the corner. And people start to learn that after a while. And to me, that makes sense. The other thing is, because people are pressed, even more so today than they were 20 years ago. And that's why I think a lot of the issues with the cell phones while they're driving is creating an even more dangerous environment. 5 or 10 miles over the speed limit is not like a huge thing. But put one of these into the mix, and now you got something really dangerous out there. And like the letter says, if you're going so many miles over the speed limit, you hit a pedestrian, the risk of killing them is much greater the faster they're going. So, I appreciate everything you're doing. I really do. I just think we need to keep, if every school could have a cop out there working traffic, I mean, geez, they all would. So, and we can't have that. That's not a reality. So, anyway, thanks.
And that's, I just want to show you that we are doing, as much as we can manage right now while still not neglecting the other calls that come in and the other requests. And you have a legitimate concern, and Jerry just emphasized that over and over. The traffic volume is really high. But kudos to the school for taking care of kind of fixing some of the issues themselves.
They've started, they have a split start time now in the morning to try and spread some of that traffic out.
I did not know that. When did that start?
Well, they got their early, the meal program.
Okay.
And so they've got a number of children coming in early for breakfast, which has split the actual start of the school time. They started it this year, I think.
Okay.
So, the
That
school.
was one of the recommendations
Yes.
that we made earlier, was to avoid those traffic flows by adjusting that start time. So if they've done a partial adjustment to it, that's good. They
Right.
listening to what the city recommended and its
Right.
recommendations.
And I think it's
Or
having some
council.
impact.
What's that?
I think it's having an impact.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Some people are never gonna be happy
Right.
with whatever we do there. But I don't see what else engineering wise, unless you wanna put a big curve in there or some of that other stuff, or plant some trees right in the middle of the road.
To Brad, I even looked at it, I said, well, what are these portable speed bumps that we can throw out there? That you can't do that on the highway.
Yeah.
That's the highway.
Well, Jerry, the thing is that we, literally, you've heard 3 years, we probably have been addressing Aldo and South Monroe issues that long. And to bring you up to speed, if you want, I've got a lot of documentation of that history that we're more than happy to provide you with. So when they talk about these engineering measures and the studies and so forth, that's all on file. And I can get that for you. And, when you talk about the speed bumps, that's all in there. The
Three-dimensional
propulsion speed-
crosswalks.
What's that?
The painted three-dimensional crosswalks.
Yeah, right. But, yeah, no, I mean, from the engineering perspective, we exhausted a lot of options. And honestly, it's really, and I know you can probably attest to this, it's difficult to enforce roadways that are posted lower than what the engineering criteria states. And when I say that, roads are built a particular way, and people, 85%, you always hear me talking about 85th percentile speed. 85% of the traffic just drives what they feel comfortable driving. That's just what they do. It's that 15% that you're catching that where the problem really lies. That's the tough part. And if your 85th is close to your posted, that's good. Granted, yes, if it's higher than the charts that you're showing about pedestrian fatalities and injuries, that's one thing. But at the same time, the motorist still has to have some responsibility when they're going through. They see the fluorescent yellow-green signs. They see the school 15-mile-an-hour signs. They see the crosswalks that have doubled-up signs. That right there should be a red flag of, okay, you should never be having this in the first place,
Right.
but now is especially the time I need to put this down.
Right.
And and pay attention. That's, to me, where a lot of the problem is.
Yeah, if you go down Libel Street in the morning, what's the school at Broadview and Libel? There's a great school right there. My daughter lives the next block over, and I go pick up her dog in the morning to walk because they're both working. And the Brown County Sheriff's Department have got everyone stick trained there like you, I mean, people literally are going 15 miles an hour, block and a half before, into it, and a block and a half out. Everyone's slower than heck, but almost every day there's a cop there. And yet, every day, you see them get someone and pulling them over. So people, not everyone's, but I'm like, boy, you know, you slow the heck down. And they've got everyone slow down there. But who has the luxury of having a cop every day on Monroe Street taking enforcement action? Or any of the other complaints that we get complaints on for speeding. So it's, you know, there's a balance, I understand that. And that's why I'm not asking every day or anything like
Well, and
that.
that's why I've been trying, though, to do
Right.
more than you even asked as far as that, because even more important than the citation, like you said, I give these guys discretion. Warning citations, I don't need to know the speeds. Those red and blue lights sitting there for that 5 or 8 or 10 minutes, that's the deterrent that I
Yes,
want.
absolutely.
And I want it to be, oh, last week we saw a cop here on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, this week it's Friday, man, they're here all the time. Even when we're not, we can kind of provide that
Right.
illusion.
And it takes a period of time to get people, and that's the Rosendale effect.
Yes.
And
Yep.
and that's what I'd like to see eventually for this entire community. But we've spent enough time on this, and I'm sorry.
It's important.
We're going on and on, but-
Is the motion to receive and place on file? Is that proper?
Yeah, because it was a report, I believe, right? Or,
Yeah,
well,
that's all I was looking for.
you were just looking for an
Yeah.
update, so receive and place on file is appropriate.
Do you want to make that motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, receive and place on file.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Number 5, request by Alderman Galvin to eliminate no parking ordinance for areas surrounding the hospitals.
Okay, do you want me to start first then?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, because we've discussed this already, but I think more or less what you need to hear from me is more of the history on why it's there, and then obviously I think Bill can give you some further updates on how things have changed. But I do have a list of streets. Now, these are the 2 hospitals where you see the push pin number 5. And these surrounding neighborhood streets, a good majority of them have what we call no parking, residential permit only, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. listed on them. They were created many years ago for the reason that the residents just were angry because visitors to the hospital and some of the employees to the hospitals were parking all day there for attendance to the hospitals. Now, over time, what has happened, they've built a parking structure, they've created satellite parking lots that employees can either walk to and from their cars and work, or they get bused. So, since this has gone into effect, there have been some changes that theoretically should reduce the number of people that would park on the streets if indeed the residential permit zones were gone. So there has been that change. So when it comes down to a request like this, it's a big change. It predates me. I've read some of the minutes from those meetings. It was a big deal back then. They commissioned a study to look at all this, so there was a lot of work that actually went into establishing it. So I think that needs to be known, because removing it, you're in essence doing away with that. But the point is, and again, Bill will probably elaborate on it, that there has been some, I should say, a lot of effort by the hospitals to accommodate parking either on-site or at satellite lots. So the actual traffic parking demand in the neighborhoods theoretically should be significantly reduced if the signs were pulled. Now, there could be a question of, well, do we still want to preserve some no parking zones per se? My opinion on that is that if we conditionally allow people to park there, what's wrong with having other people park there? So those zones that are in place for residential, there is no safety reason to say, well, we need to still restrict no parking in those areas. If you remove the signs, you remove the signs, and it just is what it is. So there you go, there's a little bit of history on it. And really, staff doesn't have an opinion on it, other than just want to provide the history, and that these are larger areas. Residential permit zones are usually large encompassing areas. You know, we don't want to take fragmented areas or segments. You know, we look at an all area, all wide type of an area, and that's really what happened here.
Is
So-
most of that by permit,
What's that?
residential permit? Is most of it by residential permit?
A good deal of it is, yeah, you're gonna see a mixture of the, like I said, it's, the actual sign message says no parking residential permit, only 8 AM to 8 PM. That's what it'll say, but you'll see in areas, because have been a few streets, it's been some years, but where some of the residential permit streets have been removed and replaced with like 3 or 4 hour parking. That has happened, I believe it was on Grenion Street where that happened some years ago. So it has been slightly carved away at, but not significantly. A lot of it is still there. But if you don't see like no parking here at corner zones, or maybe no stopping or standing in a real tight area or something like that, you may find some interspersed 2-hour parking in there. But that's really about it. But it's pretty regulated. It's pretty rare to find a street within blocks of the hospital camps that you just have unrestricted parking. You don't, no signs at all.
Elder?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I grew up on Quincy, just off of Mason, and we would have employees parking both sides of the street, and, you know, you get the snow and all that kind of stuff. It was a mess, and I agree, we needed something, and they built that. The hospital, when they built the ramp, they charged, you know, so people still wanted to park on the streets, the employees, everything else. The ramp is now free parking. The employees are bused, or they're walking over from satellite lots, like he was saying. You see, I don't see, and that's, I've had neighbors complaining that, you know, although they can call in and get permission, they have friends come and visit and stuff during the day. It's an inconvenience, and a lot of them don't see the need for it anymore. You know, the ramp is never full, and so they're like, can we have this pulled and just have the convenience of family and friends can just stop by and pop in? We don't have to call right away if we forget. I mean, I had one lady, she had a card party, she forgot to call in. All 6 of her friends got tickets. You know, so she wasn't super happy, and, you know, but she understood too, she has a responsibility to call in, but she forgot. She said, you know, why are we still doing this after all this time? It's not a necessity. Now, David and I talked, and we may want to maybe do a 90-day and see what happens, but I look at all the Leopold, and I think if we pulled it there, you might have people parking all around the school. I'm not sure where they park right now anyway, as it is, when they have I don't know, festival or whatever it is that schools have, like a musical or something like that. What's that?
I know for after school, like Emily and all those, I mean, they're just bumping about
Well,
on both
they're
sides
picking
of
up their
the
kids, yeah,
Right,
but,
picking up kids.
but the thing is, they're occupying their car technically, so it's,
Right.
you know, it's not a violation.
There's a lot of 2-hour zones just immediately
Yeah.
south of Emily Street. On Quincy, for
Okay.
example, that's a 2-hour zone.
Right.
I believe also between Eliza and Porlier on Quincy, I believe that's also a 2-hour. I think it's a mixture of 2-hour and residential.
Right, you know, because like Clay Street, over between Clay and Grig, you know, Grignon and that's still residential. So as Dave and I were talking, and Dave is a little bit, well, he's a lot more knowledgeable on this, and he probably has some better thoughts on, you know, are we better off going with a 2-hour, 4-hour restriction, something that keeps people honest? Because if it's 2 or 4, you're not going to have an employee parking out there.
Well, that was
You
the
know.
only concern I had.
Right.
If we change the signs or remove the signs, are we gonna have a reversion back to where things
Right.
used to be with the employees?
And I think if we restricted the parking to 2 to 4 hours, something like that, it really makes it hard for an employee to leave their work site and go move their car to a different site so they don't get tagged. But 4 hours is enough for a visitor to, you know, be there, and if they're gonna be longer, I guess they can call in for a permit or something or whatever it is.
Right, and realize that that's just during the day too. I mean, you
Right.
can set the 2-hour limits what you want. A lot of times you see like 7 to 4, 7 to 7.
Right.
You know, if indeed a 2-hour zone is something that would be under consideration, I would just match whatever those time limits are. in the-
Okay.
in the
You know, whatever kind of recommendation Dave has, I'd be happy with, and I'm sure the neighbors would be happy with. But But they have them go and apply for a permit every year and all that other, and one family has multiple kids with cars. They have to get permits, so that there isn't all this jockeying around during the day when they're going to school and work and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, it was necessary at one time. I just don't think the inconvenience is necessary anymore. And that's all I'm looking for, is a change.
If you're looking for a recommendation, you know, I guess I've got a couple different opinions on this. Number one, I'll just reemphasize that this is not a safety issue for us, that if they were completely removed, it's not like we're going, oh, the world's gonna fall apart. Traffic will still flow and all of that. So we're not concerned about that. There's a couple of different things that would happen. This is such a large change that, and I brought up this list here that I just wanted you to understand the magnitude of this. I mean, these are streets, and you'll see, you know, the streets are on here multiple times. These are just multiple segments. You know, obviously the footprint of the actual hospitals themselves kind of break up some of the roadways, you know, the east-west roadways, obviously. So that's why you'll see the multiple segments, but this is pretty large. So let's just say there's a motion to remove, and just don't put 2 hour, don't put anything. You're just gonna completely just remove those signs. During a 90-day trial, something of this significance, at minimum, I would leave the posts up. They're just
Oh, yeah.
empty posts that, in case this thing really backfires in a bad way, we got the signs still stockpiled and we can just go slap them back up. I'm looking at it from our staff perspective,
Absolutely,
because this is a
yeah.
pretty big job actually for us. And even with the weather, I mean, we've got a lot of what we call V-locks. That's what you don't see, that's below ground, that are anchor bases for these C-channel posts that are gonna be frozen into the ground anyway. So we really wouldn't be able to do a real thorough cleanup job until, you know, probably May, June, really, until things get thawed, you know, obviously the frost on the ground, and dry, you know, because otherwise it gets kind of messy as well. Now, relative to what kind of zone, if indeed this changes, I think prior to even having that discussion, and really, Bill, this is up to you. You know your constituents better than anybody else. I can only give you this recommendation based off of what I've seen done in the past over my tenure here at the city for larger scale projects. I would advise to have a survey done. I think when you're out campaigning right now, you're probably hearing a lot of people that want the change, so that's when they bring it up. But if everything's all hunky-dory, they don't say a thing about it. I can almost guarantee you that my phone's gonna be ringing quite a bit when this
Okay.
happens. They're gonna ask me what in the, fill in the blank. I would probably, before making any action tonight, I would figure some way to do a survey and just get an idea on if this is gonna be successful or not. Because if this indeed rolls the other way, it's gonna be a lot of work for us to go back and sign this again.
Okay.
So I would actually recommend a survey, and I know that that's been done in the past. As a matter of fact, when this was actually installed, there was surveys done as well.
Okay.
How do you
to-
do
to
the
get
survey?
people's opinions, because that's how they ultimately determine which roadways and which segments and how far to go. That was determined, it was a survey.
So how do you do the survey? Is this a door-to-door survey, a mail survey, or?
That would be completely up to Bill. It could be something where you just, I mean, I would, if it was me, I could give you this list, you know exactly
I
where
was
they
gonna say, why
are.
don't you send it to me?
And then you already have where it's located in one document, and then you just, you could, while you're campaigning, put an extra flyer on each of these, and then, you know, you could probably knock off a third of this list in one day when you're campaigning.
Sure.
I'm guessing, and you could do it by that. I would certainly give them the electronic option, because some people don't like mailing things, they don't like calling and talking to people.
Right.
I would probably put an email address down to get that information, but for such a large change like that, that's great. Honestly, from a staff perspective, if we didn't have that residential permit zone to enforce, it'd be one less thing for us to do and concentrate on other areas where we should be more focused on for safety reasons, for
So
parking zones.
when I do the survey, should I be giving them an option of no time limit and then time limits of like 2 hours, 4 hours?
Well, you would put the survey together for him, wouldn't you?
Not necessarily. I mean, like I said, the staff really has no opinion if it's there or not. This is really kind of more neighborhood driven.
Right.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I would be more than happy to work with Alderman Galvin to come up with the right way to phrase this. If you got something, run it by me. You know, we ask and have surveys often for various things in public works. So, I mean, I'd have no problem doing that. I think what you want to do, you know, parking is traffic, and traffic is really no different than signs. You give as few options for them to respond to. Yes or no questions are great. And then just leave an area for comment at the bottom. Say, this is the proposal on the table. It's either A, completely remove those signs, or B, then just stick with one. 2 hour, 7 to 7, Monday through Friday, and just stick with one. And the thing is that they'll either pick one or the other, and then if they have an issue with the time or the extent or the duration, they'll write it down in the comments, and that'll give you somewhere to go then with this.
Okay.
And then just tally it up in a spreadsheet, and then we bring it back to the next meeting. I mean, I think at that time, then you'll have a pretty solid recommendation. You and I can discuss it, and if indeed there's gonna be a change, we'll just figure out how to, our implementation plan.
All right. That's what we're doing.
You want to postpone this till
Yeah,
next meeting?
well, I don't know if I'll get this done by the next meeting.
Okay.
It's a big effort.
Yeah, I'm
It's a
still
big-
out knocking on doors, so that's part of my process to get it out there, but just gonna save in that area until just before the election, but
What would be the
why don't we
proper,
postpone it for,
to the May meeting?
yeah, let's postpone it until the May meeting.
Okay, that's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? The ayes have it. Item number 6.
I would say with this, based on 5, that we delay this till that same meeting.
Okay.
Because if we pass 5, 6 becomes a moot point. And
Okay.
there's no need to.
I'll move to postpone until the April meeting, or the May meeting, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Item number 6. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? The ayes have it. Item number 7.
Consideration possible action, Alderman Scannell, change tour parking all day, 7 days a week on the north side of 1000 block of Crooks Street. Let me bring up on the map of the location. Yeah, these next two items are almost, I think, about a block apart. Just to give you some frame of reference here, as you can tell, we didn't move far from the hospital, so we're still relatively close to the hospital. So this is Mason Street, this is Webster, north-south, Mason, east-west. So we're 2 blocks north, parallel of Mason, at Crooks. And Crooks is a signalized intersection. So it's relatively busy. Now, the information that I had heard from Alderman Scannell is that this apartment complex that you see here on the south side of the road, which also has some parking here, is pretty well, it's popular. There's a lot of visitors coming and going. Sometimes residents are parking on the streets, and both sides are getting parked up. So the existing zones that you have in this area, it's really, you have no parking here to corner zone, which makes sense coming up to the signal, for lane designations, et cetera. And then over here, we also have no parking here to corner zones up at Clay Street. But it's really the central parts of those, of this block, I should say, that has unrestricted parking. So with the apartment generating so much parking traffic on the street, has left little to no on-street parking for the residents which are on the north side. So if the alderman's recommending 2 hour in order to regulate that parking, give the residents some opportunity, I see no issue with that, especially since the apartment complex has available on-site parking. So I see no reason to have any questions or concerns about the request, other than it's probably a good 90-day trial to have.
He's helping you out.
Yeah, that's my district.
Oh, that's your district?
Yeah.
Oh, so this is the next one too, or no?
I believe.
Stewart Street?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Do you agree with them?
Yes, yes, I
Well,
guess it's
I
your
haven't heard any
district, what's your-
complaints about that. That's the odd thing. I don't know who he's talking to, but that's fine.
I'll move approval of number 7.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Number 8.
Okay, Stewart Street, one block to the north. Now, is that your area?
Yep, I believe it is, yeah.
So now instead of east of Webster, this is west. So if you're looking at this map, you can tell, maybe some of you know, some of you don't, but this roadway, Stewart Street, actually used to go through. There were homes on there that were raised, and the Parks Department developed this. And
Which park is
enlarged the
that?
Park.
That's that new park. What do they call it, Dave?
Oh, boy. I wish I knew.
Jackson Park, I think? No.
That would make sense, because Jackson is the western
Right.
border. But there used to be, I guess,
Oh, I
the
know
park
what it
was
is now.
more on the, I
Yeah.
believe, the north side, and the
It
south
was
side
actually
had some
across
open
the street.
space.
It was on the other, west side of Jackson Street.
Okay.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Yep. And so they tore out all those houses, moved the park over there, and I'm not sure what they're gonna do with the old park space, but
That's not Navarino, is it?
Navarino Park, yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Navarino.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I did think back a few years.
Right. And you can kind of see what they did here. You know, this used to be the sidewalk of the street, so they just, replaced that sidewalk in here, made it all new condition. They removed it here. I'm gonna guess that was probably part of the raising process and destroyed a lot of that. But anyway, this used to be street right away, now it no longer is. So, now let's focus on the requester. The requester lives on the northeast side of this T intersection now. And apparently, they don't have any on-site parking, or if they do, it's very limited. It may be underneath, but anyway, there's not enough. And there is an ongoing agreement with the Mexican grocery store that's at the intersection with Webster for their nighttime parking. But daytime seems to be a problem, and I believe that they used to park on this vacated street. There was mention in the email that there was a property raised by the city, so it makes sense it was probably in that segment that they used to have an agreement for on-site parking. That's no longer there. And this area in here is basically 2-hour parking. I think I have a map actually of what the existing looks like. Yep, here we go. And, I need a little hand to move this. Oh, here we are. So, as you can see where the green is, that's all 2-hour, and then there's a no parking zone over here. So, as you can see across the street, there's no available parking, and then there's 2-hour here. 4-unit apartment, and then again, you have some of the same restrictions over here. You have 2-hour parking. Let me see what this solid green is. Oops. Looks like I just moved a line. Okay, it's unrestricted parking. So they're asking for residential permit parking in here. Let me remind you that, based off our last discussion, residential permit parking, its intention in this city has been for area-wide, larger areas to regulate parking due to a large trip generator, which in our former case was 2 hospitals. In this case, we don't really have a generator, it's more just residential parking. So this is one of those areas where I would not recommend a residential permit zone. It makes it more difficult too for our parking staff to enforce a little segment that's, kind of gets lost in the whole mix, It's easier for someone to say, oh, hey, we have problems in the hospital residential permit zone, well, then they just go out and they cruise those streets. This one, it would be just a part of a block. We don't even have anything that small anywhere in the city. And I can tell you that when we had the Reed Street Rush Aquatic Center one come up, that one even had resistance from staff relative to that prior to being established. But then again, different from this, you at least had a traffic generator that was the cause of it and was bringing a lot of people there at one time. This is not necessarily the case. This is more of a hardship that was, I don't even want to say a hardship, because technically all these buildings and property owners should be providing on-site parking, but let's just say hardship due to a change in circumstances of available off-site parking that was leased. So in this case, I think probably a more realistic solution would be to probably just remove the 2-hour parking. I mean, you can see it right now, and I would just shorten it up and just leave it unrestricted in that area and see what happens. Now, you do run the risk of people that see that and go, well, I'm just gonna park there all day. I just don't know who would really do that, just for a full day. And like I said, with the residential permits, it goes against why we have residential permits. So it's the enforcement and then the administrative end with the hang tags. And if it's an apartment complex and you got people moving, coming and going, and according to the email, it sounds like there is some turnover in that apartment. So I could see trying to administer those hang tags and the permits would probably be somewhat cumbersome. So in this case, I think on a 90-day trial, to just roll back that area, give them the available parking. Or if not, I honestly really don't see an issue. As you can see at the solid green lines, Van Buren Street, literally, I mean, what are we looking at, 100 feet almost across the street at the head of the T and everything, there's already available on-street parking. I get it.
Well, the apartment has parking anyways, doesn't it?
It's an old building.
Okay.
I would bet what they've got is probably 4 spots, not understanding that in today's society, you've got multiple cars per family, and you probably got 8 cars, and there's no way they're gonna get 8 cars underneath that thing.
And if you think about it, they actually have closer available on-street parking now than to where their night parking exists. It is closer. But it is a request that came through.
What do you want to do, Bill?
I would make a recommendation that we just remove the 2-hour parking on that street.
Completely, all of it?
Yeah.
Okay, both sides or just the north?
I'd say just the north side. That should be plenty for the residents there.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ray. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? The ayes have it. And we have one more item, number 11.
All right, now this one was referred, this was referred back from the council. This is, I'm not sure if it was Scannell or Zim, I think it was Zim if I recall correctly, that referred this back to committee or commission that the city place a flashing school zone sign at Leonardo da Vinci School for gifted learners on Monroe. Did everyone hear I believe I had a brief statement on this last time, unless you want me to say it again.
No.
It's pretty brief. So I did review school signage markings. They did meet or exceed state and federal requirements for a school. Da Vinci does not have what we call safe route crossings or designated crossing routes. However, I have worked with the school in the past since its inception on where the proper crossings would be. And in this case, it's one block north at the intersection of Walnut and Monroe, where we have a signalized intersection with crossing pedestrian features, the countdown pet timers, etc. We do have this, what we have for school signs right now is both directions are identical. We have the advanced warning school sign with the ahead supplemental plaque in each direction. And again, let me remind you that that is compliant with state statute. So that'd be 346.57 4A. So I looked at crash history, looked at things like that. I didn't find anything pedestrian related. I just don't know what makes this area differentiates it from other schools to require a flasher. Flashers are usually installed in locations where there's a lot of crossing students, and there's been trouble with motorist compliance and/or pedestrians not, jaywalking and maybe getting them to a particular location or whatever. But I don't see that. Again, this is very similar type of school than Aldo, or like Aldo, where it's it's a kind of a choice in school. You go there because you want to go there, or you qualify to go there, and the bus service is minimal, and you have a lot of parent pickup and drop off. So the amount of foot traffic is pretty minimal from what we see.
There are no kids that live west of the school. There's no residents
Right.
unless you get all the way down to the apartments downtown.
Right.
My observation has been most of the kids that I've ever seen, all of them are being dropped east, north, and south of the school. In fact, mostly east and south of the school. And so I'm not really sure what,
Why was this referred back from the council?
It was very brief. I watched the tape, and I don't know, Bill, if you were at that meeting or not,
Right.
but
yeah, it was a
He just-
communication from Alder Zima during communication time. He just wrote this thing up and put it in there.
right, but this was actually addressed at the last meeting,
Yeah.
and he wasn't here to speak on the item. And as a matter of fact, I believe this is actually it's Scannell's district, so it's kind of a reversal where Scannell's.
Right, we were all kind of wondering what the deal was, because Randy was unaware of it.
Right, and
Well,
so,
what would be the proper action?
I just think what we
Place
had
on
from
file
last time
or
was
reject?
was receive and place on file or deny the request. And,
I-
unless we had some situation that was brought to our attention, whether we knew about it or not, but I mean, I've gotten no feedback. on
Alder Zima
anything.
didn't contact anyone,
No.
and this is the second time it's been here.
Correct.
I would make a motion to deny it.
All second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
I mean, if he wants to bring it forward again and then show up at the meeting and well, you guys know
Right.
what it is he wants.
Right.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
All right. Any further business?
I do not have any, other than I believe that I mentioned earlier on that we are going to be changing our meeting agendas, minutes, procedure. As in, what I'm doing here, although I'll still be able to bring up maps and things like that, I'm gonna be doing things also in the background here for the minutes. So the city's taking a different approach with it, using a software called Civic Clerk that was approved by council. So that's going to take place as early as the April 16th meeting. And there's going to be some training on that. Actually, I've been to some training already. I'm going to continue training. We're going to have a mock meeting that we're going to do so that us people that have to use it can understand it and learn it hands-on. And then there's also going to be a training session for alders as well, and commissioners. So
I'll probably need an extra hour or two.
Any special attention right there?
Apparently, it's gonna make it much easier for the public to view the meetings, and instead of having to go through the whole thing, you can literally, because someone will be hitting a button, item one, boom, the button's hit, now it's stamped. So when you go and you look at the things and you wanna look at a meeting, you can queue it up on your computer and just go, I wanna see item 1, 7, and whatever, and boom, boom, boom.
Hmm.
And then you don't have to fast forward through and all that kind of stuff.
What you'll see is, as you know, especially with this commission, we have at times provided a lot of detail for the minutes on particular items, especially ones where there's a lot of discussion. You'll probably see less of that. I probably will still summarize and, put some narrative into the minutes. It's probably gonna be smaller in size for the fact of what Bill had just mentioned, that there's gonna be a way to timestamp individual items, and you'll be able to refer back to the video by just going to a bookmark and going, oh, item 2, I wanna go to item 2, and it gets you right to it. There'll be a link within the minutes to do that. There's ADA requirements as well that go along with this, because as a public agency, we're required by ADA to have closed captioning on videos that are published to YouTube. So, and that's, it's every committee and commission and council that's been discussed, and that was kind of part of this. And we already have a company on board, Rev.com, that has been doing this for us, because we've been posting our videos now for some time, and as well as other committees, commissions and boards. So the transcript will actually come from that. So there's gonna be an actual written transcript, and then obviously you'll see it embedded within the videos. So that's really going to be the minutes, as, you know, we'll say the long form minutes. But there's going to be, I believe, what they just, and legal, and I know Celestine's been very involved with this. We'll have probably a little bit better clarity on it, but I think that there's what they call the legal minutes, which is really gonna be kind of more that condensed of, this is the motion. You know, who did it. When it comes down to voting, everyone will be able to they'll have tablets that will be
Right.
available, and you just pick them up, and I guess it's gonna be pretty easy, and you vote on each of the items, so everyone's gonna, you know, have a vote now instead of just a voice vote.
Trees are breathing a sigh of relief.
Right, so it's gonna be a pretty significant change. You know, we're, you know, I see a lot of positives out of it. There's been, you know, and I can attest myself that we spend a lot of time on minutes and follow-up with those and reports and everything, where I think that, I mean, quite honestly, I think it's money well spent by the city to say, hey, if we can automate the process, let's do it. That way, it takes those duties which are, let's just say, you know, I mean, that was something that happened in the past. Now we have technology to help us, so. I think overall, it's gonna be a good move. There's gonna be some growing pains here, but I don't think it's gonna be long, from what I've experienced.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yes, motion adjourned.
Second? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you, everyone.
You bet.